One thing which in academic world, one thing which is very important is what is the quality of publications. And quality of publications means journals which are well established journals. So in science subjects we have SCI, Science Citation Index, Thomson Reuters. If someone has publication in SCI, this is SCI, Science Citation Index, because wherever I find that people don't write papers in SCI, the publication profile is very poor. Social science citation it is almost, you will find Social Science Citation Index. This is almost missing in our country. SCI, Physics, Chemistry, Biological Sciences. You will find almost everyone is publishing in SCI. But if you come to the engineering side, this is weak. People are not publishing in SCI journal. And the worst thing what is happening, there are paid journals. One can write anything, one can copy anything. And these are after all MTech students, so the argument is, sir, these are MTech students and even if you have to pay, because they insist that there should be publication, so they will write 3-4 papers and these papers are meaningless, and worst thing which I find, it leads to unethical practices. Because if I am encouraging my student to write a paper, you lift from here, lift from here, lift from here, and you write a paper, and you pay 2,500 and you can get your paper published. That is. Eventually, the student right in the beginning gets into that, and how university can evolve some policies such that these persons are not, or the teachers and the students are not. Now in SCI, there are journals like, one keeps arguing like PLOS, Public Library of Science, PLOS. Here you may have to pay something like 1,50,000. If you are published, because there is a public library, they say we are not charging anything, because it is only that it will become access to the public and free of cost, you can access that particular journal. That is PLOS library. Even in nature, so these are the high impact factor, like nature has a very high impact factor 30, science has 30, and the biological science has the maximum impact factor is cell. That has got impact factor of 58 or 60, maybe my figures may be wrong, but understand. Obviously, publishing in cell. Recently, we were there in TIFR, evaluation of TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. There is an institute like NCBS, National Center for Biological Sciences in Bangalore. That is a part of TIFR. There I was amazed that the director himself had published several papers in Cell 8 Maya. So there is one group which is actively involved in this area. They are experimentalists, and they are also persons in neuroscience, and that is the hottest area, neuroscience, which we are finding. If you look at neuroscience, recently we have started working in neuroscience, but Hodgkin Huxley, when they got Nobel Prize in 1952 on spiking neurons, given the brain and how does it spike. Why brain is so complicated? Because the number of neurons in the brain is 10 to the power millions and billions of neurons, and these neurons are interconnected. And if they are interconnected, that is through dendrites. So this roughly 10 to the power 3, and this structure becomes so large, even the fastest machines will not be able to solve it. And interesting thing is, all data which is in the neuroscience is available free of cost. If you make a group, that area is flourishing, and like great computer scientist Donald Knuth, he says next 500 years are devoted to biological sciences. All areas which will lead to biological sciences, and this neuroscience has led to new areas. Say, given the brain, if you take fMRI, when you go to the shopping mall, you like this and you like this, so different portion of the brain get excited and you can picture those. And this has led to the area like neuromarketing. Because suppose you, this product and this product, if you bundle, so they think that probably we can. Similarly, behavioral economics, that is also a part of, which has emerged through neuroscience, that is neuro decision making. Now these are the areas which are coming in a very, very big way. Similarly, the cognitive science, the cognition and the science, the behavioral aspect, psychology and this cognitive aspect, they are also merging. And what I was really amazed, when things started in neuroscience, 1980s, if you look at the international scenario, almost all European universities had a center in neuroscience. Now if you go to every department, there is a neuroscientist. In each department, I was in Seattle. Computer scientist has a neuroscientist, physiology department has a neuroscientist, chemistry department has a neuroscientist, physics has a neuroscientist, mathematics has a neuroscientist or neuromathematics. All these things are people are doing at a massive scale. In our country, Manesa is a center, and something started, say, only a few years back. Like this, I think, is a news which is known to everyone. 248 crores was donated by Krish from his own saving. He was the vice president of Infosys. He gave 248 crores. 200 crores he has given to ISC Bangalore, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore. 48 crores he has given to. I was there in NEC visit, IIIT Bangalore. He was the chairman. So I was just saying that why India should not contribute in the area of neuroscience. He said, okay, that is what we are doing, and we have donated. I have given my own saving 200. I said, why don't you give it to North also? Then there are persons, if they have published in good journals, and probably they should be promoted so that we can have a critical mass. But he says, okay, now you send a proposal, I have sent a proposal. Whether something happens, I doubt it. But the thing is, DST, Department of Science and Technology, also for women scientists, cognitive this, they are encouraging. So if women scientists get into it, probably they would also be supported. And now cognitive aspects is all different disciplines can come into management or economics, everything you can say it is essentially. And there is another center in Allahabad University, Cognitive Science Center. So one thing is that at least we should try to identify which are the activities happening at the national level. Second, that networking. Who are the persons who are working in different areas? And I'm sure if you start interacting with someone, maybe one time they may say, sir, I am very busy, I will not have time. Next time, but if you are genuinely interested, there are persons who are good. They will always find time. Whatever you want, they will be happy to support. So some of the areas which are fast emerging, we should get into those areas rather than continuing with something which is now obsolete and no one is interested. Even if you put all efforts, it will never. That is, in the morning I was showing this graph which I am This is true with all of us. If you look at the number of publications, and this is time. Say you start at the age of 30 years or something. So typical graph is S-shaped curve. One starts writing 5, 6, 10, and then maybe something like, depends on the discipline to discipline in. Physics one may write 200 papers, good papers, some chemistry more, biological is still more. Mathematics it might be much less because pure mathematics people don't write. Engineering side also. So this is a typical graph which we have. It means a paradigm starts. You start working in this area. You find that this area, and finally after 30-40 years, you reach there is a saturation you reach it. The same story is about any new paradigm which comes. It comes in a manner like this, and after some time you find this is not able to explain, and then a new mutation. Like biological sense, you say there is a new paradigm, something comes, it starts competing with the existing, and if it survives, then this will go like this, and this will start coming down, and that paradigm is old and you go. And a lot of work has been done in this area, how science grows. So for youngsters, most important thing is if you are getting into research business, if you are coming into this area, this would be a disaster, because some area which is almost vanishing and still you are trying to get into it, you are not going to succeed at all. So strategically, whenever you are entering, I always ask my students, you go to Google Scholar. Google Scholar, whatever keywords you have, you say, okay, this area means so many things are happening in 2017. At least you should be aware what is happening now at the international level. Never ask, sir कोई important area बता दीजिए, बस जिससे तुम पूछे वो भी तुम्हारी जैसा है. तो इसलिए हम जो पूछ रहे थे भाई सर आप बता दीजिए कुछ एरिया क्या करें, किस में करें. पहली बात तो whatever area you want to work in, you know it, this is my strength, this is my weakness, and that is how I. So you start looking at the papers. Okay? You identify this area interests me. Then I have a student, she is physics and then she did SCI School of Computation Integrative Science, and then she got interested in schizophrenia. This is the area where I would like to develop some mathematical model for schizophrenia. So strategically you start looking at what is the scenario, what people are working at the international level. You say these are the areas where I can contribute. So at least you start giving the very big, you start reducing, you say this is the relevant paper, 20, 30, 40 paper, I want to focus on this. So if you start focusing on this and if you are able to understand, comprehend, so obviously some new ideas will come, you say now I will start working on this. So this is true, and this must be true with all disciplines, be it chemistry, be it physics, be it biology, be it management science, whatever you say. That is a strategy which having done it, particularly I find many students have a tendency to look for those papers where there is no mathematics. You look at all journals, you find this journal does not contain any mathematics, this does not, because that is our weak point. But one thing one should remember, if you are looking at journals which have the authors who have not used mathematics, and journal is good, it means they are world authorities. They are established authorities and they don't need mathematics, because without mathematics they see that I can see through it and they write paper. So you start competing with those persons who are very well established persons. So what should be your strategy? Learn mathematics, because that is what you have to learn. Learn mathematics, learn statistics. Because that is the language of modern science and technology. And you can't evade this. Even medical doctors at All India Medical Institute, because if you have to publish a paper, you have to establish the efficacy of the problem. How you test the efficacy? You say, given this statistical test, so testing of hypothesis, all these statistical inference techniques you start applying, and you say, given this my null hypothesis and this is my alternative and this is the data support this, now I can conclude it is like this. So this minimal level of statistical methodology is essential for all social scientists, medical doctors. And now these new terms which are coming, big data. Basically, big data means vast amount of data is being generated, you have to analyze it. Many times it is not expected that you will learn all mathematics, all this data analysis, so you give in a software. Social scientists, biological scientists, so they can take and they say, given this, I have all the data, I am analyzing it, and based on that, I am drawing this inference. But that has to be validated by statistical methodology. And that is essentially, this is called now multivariate. Why? Because there are several variables which are important. Say, to illustrate a point, suppose you are saying height and weight, so it becomes a two-dimensional bivariate. There can be third dimension, age, third dimension, whatever dimensions you want to add, you say given this. Because at one time, 1995, when I was looking at the literature in bioinformatics, I found that even simple correlation analysis, which we do normally in BSc class, there were research papers which people were publishing in bioinformatics. But now if you look at bioinformatics, it is all mathematics and nothing else. So what is the message? Because the way mathematics is penetrating, statistical methodology is penetrating in all disciplines. There is no escape, we have to. And how to cope up with this? So the curriculum has to be redesigned so that some components slowly we should start adding where we can. And I am sure that with little effort, if you do it, not necessarily that you have to learn all this, you can always identify some person in your university or outside the university who are statistician, mathematician, who say these are the paper, this is the methodology I need, can you pick up this and let us write a joint paper. Because in US, any paper you see, there are 4 or 5 authors who are working together and drawn from different disciplines. That strategy has to work. Because you can't, each individual is not possible to comprehend the entire thing. So different parts you learn and try to solve. So the message is, whatever research area you want to get into, look for latest state of art, and then you at least you know these are the research problems which are there. And then you also look at what is the methodology they are doing, also list it. And then secondly, if you can comprehend it, very good, otherwise you start diluting. Not that you immediately, you can go up, because from one level you go to the second level, then third level, then fourth level. And if you are consistent, if you are passionate, if you are honest, then definitely you can reach from one level to another level. That is the strategy. And then writing a project for funding DBT, Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, then AICTE. Some of the areas is much easier, some of the areas is difficult. But then you better identify what project you want to write. Sometimes it is a social relevance also, which might be meaningful. Because I know some faculty members in different university in Haryana, they wrote papers in cognitive science. They got the award from DST, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. Similarly, if you are doing something in DRDO, DRDO is also funding, but best strategy should be you also identify some scientist who is working in DRDO setup or in CSR setup or even in ICR setup. So if you have one person, then that person will at least ensure that whatever problem you are doing, that is meaningful, and DRDO would like to fund that particular project. And you say that this is my expertise. We get so initially to start with, one can adopt this strategy, and as one matures, gains expertise. But idea is whatever project you write, it is the publication which is very important. Normally, when I evaluate any project, I first look at instead of project, I look at the publication of the individual. And then you start looking at the project. So, if you say by way of publication, the credentials of PI is not commensurate to handle this project, so you just reject. So, the publications is equally important because you have to establish, yes, I can do it, my credentials are good, and I have the capability and I can do it. So, if you can do it, then nobody has any problem. So, these are the issues how so different science within this country, or if you are doing very well, then you can also contribute international level. There are many European commissions, and particularly in ICT area, they are doing a lot of project work, joint project work. Even in social sciences, people are doing a lot of activities related